Grace and peace, everybody. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. So today we're going to be talking about, I believe it's Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. I know some of us as adults, we love our Disney childhood stories and the movies that they have come out with. And so today we're going to be talking about Alice in Wonderland. So I'm just going to jump right into my notes. So in the story of Alice in Wonderland, the Hatter speaks to Alice about how she used to be. He turned to her and said, "You lost your muchness. You were much muchier," in his terms expressing to Alice that she lost her sense of self. She lost her fight that was within her. And the story goes on, and he said these things because she didn't want to slay something called a Jabberwocky. Now, Alice, there was a scroll at the end. It is Alice slaying a dragon, but Alice has not come to terms with being this person that it is that it is to slay this thing called the Jabberwocky on something called the Fractious Day. And so Hatter was upset, and that's when he said what he said to her about her losing her muchness. So she's like, I'm not doing that. That's not me. You have the wrong Alice. And they really needed Alice to stand up and to defend Wonderland and the place in which they were living. But Alice didn't turn out to be that champion just as yet. There were some things that she had to go through, some battles that she had to fight before she could become the champion to fight the Big Red Queen. So it is the same thing in a sense with us in real life, that at some point of our lives we lost that muchness and we aren't as much and muchier as we were before in life because of life and its vicissitudes and of course the things that we go through, and sometimes on a day-to-day basis we face things. And I've been speaking about traumatic experiences for quite some time now, and it does have an effect on your life. It does have an effect on who you are as a person and growing into an adult. And if these things aren't dealt with, we're going to be making sometimes some silly decisions and choices that affects us in the long term. So going back to Alice in Wonderland, Alice had to deal with the loss of her father. The only way that her mother could really deal and cope with that and to allow the family to continue to have some type of sustenance was to sell the business, and Alice wasn't happy about that. Then her mother tried to set her up with marrying someone that she didn't want to marry. So to me, basically, the mother was basically trying to live her life through her daughter and trying to cope with the death of her husband at the same time. So she tried to make, like I said, Alice settle down in the story. And so is life with some of us, that we deal with traumatic experiences and we don't know how to deal with it, and the people around us don't know how to help us to deal with it. And losing a loved one, it's not easy to deal with, and being forced into things, of course, is not easy. Things that are placed upon us that we don't know how to deal with, it's hard to deal with it. And so all of these things Alice had to face, which more than likely, like I said, affect her muchness, her muchier, flamboyant, outspoken little girl that she was before when she visited Wonderland, or Underland as they call it, when she was a child. And so it is with us when we go through our phases of life that we lose, like I said, that muchness. We lose our childlike fearlessness in facing things, and we begin to hide in caves, and we begin to we just want to stay comfortable. We don't want to be anybody's champion. We just want to live our lives and be happy. And so it's uncomfortable for us when these challenges come upon us and we have to go through these processes. But knowing that these challenges that we face, it's not just for us alone, but we face them to help someone along the way, to be somebody's champion, to be somebody's hero, to be somebody's mentor, to be somebody's guide that is going through or went through a traumatic experience, something similar that we have went through. So even in a little bit that we share with our testimonies and giving stories of overcoming our adversities, we are the people's champion in some type of way. And it gives them the momentum and the drive and the tenacity to stand and to be able to fight the Jabberwockies of life. And so it's funny because a lot of times these stories they run parallel to real life circumstances and situations if you analyze them. Now, me being an older adult, I see how some of these stories run parallel to life itself and what some of the authors were trying to share. But if you look into the stories of children literature and you look at the undertones and the connotations about life in these stories, if you read them, Of course, Disney revamps them and makes them these nice, sweet fairy tale stories with happy endings. But the gist of it is that a lot of these authors went through some traumatic experiences, and through storytelling, they found relief in dealing with their pain, in dealing with their childhood experiences. So going back to what was being expressed through Alice in Wonderland, you know, sometimes we don't feel like we know exactly where we are in life. We feel like we are in a wonderland. Sometimes we feel like we don't know if we're going or we're coming. Sometimes we feel like it's all a dream and it could all be a nightmare at the same time. And eventually, though, Alice found her way. There were people to guide her. There were people to help her go through this journey. And then eventually she took over and she said, you know what, I make my own path. I'm going to make my own path. And so it is with us. With God guiding us, we have to make our own path. And in the situation where we're in with this world, which is cultural and traditional, full of fads and technology, it deters us from our actual path of becoming what we need to be along the way. And so, like I said, Alice met some characters. They were a little bit off, but eventually they helped her reach her destiny. And it says that no man is an island. No man can do it by him or herself. You know, we go through a certain part of our lives and our journey by ourselves. And we do go through our valleys and our wildernesses at times by ourselves, but we're being processed. And I say, you know, all that to say that we can definitely get our muchness back if we allow the process to take place. It's painful. Alice went through some battles, and she got some scars as we go through battles, and we have scars. She lost some things. We lose friends along the way. And, you know, she almost lost a lot of friends. She almost lost everything because she doubted herself. And of course, Mr. Caterpillar didn't make it any easier for her. I can't remember his name, but eventually she realized that she was Alice at last, and she became the people's champion, and that she could do impossible things. And with God, all things are possible. So she was like 6 impossible things before breakfast. This is something that her and her father used to share with one another before he passed. And it helps her, encourages her to get through the battle. You know, the Father's word helped her get through the battle that she had to face. And so it is with us. The Father's word helps us to get through the battles of a life. And so, you know, she encouraged herself through the battle. And like I said, she had people to help her, to guide her through along the way, to encourage her as well. And it also reminded me of David in the Bible, when he lost everything and he had to encourage himself in the Lord when the people were opposing him, wanted to stone him, because when they came back, they had lost everything, their wives, everything was taken. But the Lord told him to go forth and recover all, and he recovered all. And I'm saying to you today that you can recover all, and that you can be the people's champion, just as Alice was the people's champion towards the end, when she really went through the process and she really understood who she was and her purpose of why she was truly in Wonderland again. So as I said, you know, before, it's a weird thing maybe for some people to get that parallel going between Alice and Wonderland, but it's just a thought that really came to me. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoyed this segment of Sweet Tea TV and this moment. And I pray that you have a blessed week, and I hope to see you on YouTube, and that you're following my channel, and that you would subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful week. Peace out.